Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor and his friends give you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides. It's my actual job title and last name, which is part of the reason why the mathematical model that I've built to predict various sports outcomes is affectionately known as Sideline. You'll hear more about the model during the course of this episode, set to cover the 5 best college basketball games and one off-the-wall afternoon game scheduled to be played on Friday, March 3rd, 2023. In case you're new here, check out the webpage on the banner. It's www.pickswiththeprofessor.com/new. For some explanations and community rules, see the Google Sheet linked in the show description for Sideline's projection on every single game. Remember, this show covers picks on the best games. For the best picks on all games, sign up on Patreon or Black Book Sports. There are different packages and price ranges based on what you are looking for. Remember that sports are unpredictable, so the discussion on this show projects a typical game and does not try to forecast it to a T, as that would be a foolish and impossible goal. We take a long-term view around here and get distracted when a team either can't hit or can't miss from threes. These things balance out in the long run, but are hard to foresee before they happen. In other words, please understand that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as I'd like to see you be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Jake, I say, good and bad variance, and you never know when a team's going to be unstoppable or can't hit from three. Maybe I should amend that to say you never know when your under's going to lose in overtime and you're going to get 2 other games going to overtime, but you're going to have both favorites and they're still both going to lose at home in overtime. I feel like maybe I should amend it to say that, because we talked about we had a really good luck win with that Baylor over on Tuesday that we just did not deserve to win whatsoever.
And we paid the price.
And we paid like a much bigger price than the one win, because it's not that I expected to win all 3 of those, but that Alabama under 150 points in regulation, goes over in overtime. And then again, you get 2 games going to overtime with the home team, with the favorite. You expect to win one of them, maybe both, maybe you don't expect to lose both. So it's just like we're always talking about here. Like there's that good and bad variance, and it's an up and down ride. And start of the week was great. Wednesday, I don't feel like it was the end results were bad, but I feel like that was some bad luck. I'd rather just get crushed. I'd rather just have a game that we just get destroyed in and just be like, whatever. It wasn't going to happen,
Yeah, where you can quit watching it because it's like, all right, I'm only going to get mad watching this. Instead, it's like, oh, we still have a chance, giving you hope, and then slowly crushing it out of you. I mean, and just like you said, the variance thing, I mean, who predicted Old Dominion have, 16 points tonight in the first half?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just never know when something like that's going to happen. It balances out in the long run, but sometimes it does take a while. We talk about this. We got baseball season coming up. It's going to be the same thing in baseball, right? We're going to have a week where everything goes our way. We get the 9th inning comebacks, and then you just have a week where it's like every team that you bet on, the closer implodes, and that sort of thing. You just never know. There's a lot of variance in college basketball. It's a lot of fun, but it can still be gut-wrenching, those overtime. Just to have 3 overtime losses here in one night with whatever we had, 6-7 picks, was pretty bonkers in my opinion.
Yeah, it's wild. I can't remember the last time we picked 3 games ahead overtimes.
Right, exactly. You don't see it that often, but yeah. But putting that behind us now. Again, we're recording this here on Thursday early evening, so the Thursday games haven't really happened yet. We're just slightly into to the start of those. So hopefully Thursday goes well. We're talking about Friday's games. Smaller slate, a lot of TBD. So there's a lot of games that we can't talk about yet, but I think we picked out some good ones for you here. But before we get to that, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free. And if you turn on notifications, you'll miss any college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. I've already mentioned the Patreon, but check that out if you haven't yet. Lots of great benefits over there above and beyond what we do here. Got the plays of the day for $3 per month. Another $2 per month. You get all the model picks, all the A-grade picks, all of the recommended numbers at what money line or spread price that the model would give an A grade to. Also that Discord chat, which is a great community to talk to other bettors. A lot of good stuff over there. www.patreon.com/pickswiththeprofessors. Go there for more details. But even if you're not there, still thrilled that you are here. All right, Jake, let's get to it. But as always, take what you like and leave the rest. Got a handful of day games of the tournaments. We're going to start off in the early evening slot, 6 p.m. Eastern. Akron at Kent State. Going to take Kent State minus 188 here. This is an A-grade play according to the model that says Kent State wins by an average of 6.6. Says that this should be priced at minus 273. So anything at 214 or better gets it an A grade. With regards to spread, it says that 4.5 or better is an A grade. Right now, the current spread is 4. So if you want to get a little bit better odds, you can try the spread. Again, we're sticking to money line here. I think one of the reasons sometimes I do a bad job explaining things. I think part of the reason why the money lines work better for me is that I can do math and probabilities and math is hard for a lot of people. You're watching this probably are like, yeah, I hate statistics. This is what I do. It's what I've been trained in. And I think that helps me find edges in places that other people aren't seeing them. So I think that, I just feel very comfortable with the money line stuff. So that's where I'm at. Again, as we talked about before, it's more enjoyable for me personally. If you're going to play the spreads, go for it. But I just always find myself more angry at spreads. So if it's less enjoyable for me, maybe it is for you too. So, but -4, I think is a great price for Kent State.
Yes.
At home, I think they're the much better team. They've been pretty solid as of late. They had a little swoon there for a little bit, but as of late, I think they kind of bounced back and been playing more what we've expected. Akron's been playing pretty well lately, but this is a really tall task to go on the road and get the win here. Akron, of course, plays slower than a snail, but that's going to play right into Kent State's incredible defense. It's by far the best unit on the court. Total 134, model says 134.8, so not really a total worth investing. You're just going to stick to backing the Golden Flashes here at home. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, look, I don't know if you look at the schedule the last time out, Akron kind of handled them if you're just looking at the score, but they shot 14 more free throws and made 13 more, won by 12. Like, that's a big difference in terms of shooting and how, like, the total there. I don't think that we're going to see that again, especially not on Kent State's home court. That's going to be a large part of the difference here. Like you said, Kent State's defense on a different level. They play a little faster, but I think a slower pace plays into their hands because the more times you have to try to score against that defense is going to be the better for you. So when you're going against it fewer times, needing to be more and more, like scoring more and more against it, it's going to be tough. It's a hard ask. I mean, Houston doesn't play fast. That game was 46-45 or something crazy like that.
Mm-hmm.
This Kent State team can really, really do it on the defensive end. Offensive end, they struggle, but their defense typically makes up for it because they know they stand a better chance of scoring against your defense than you do against theirs. And I think Akron's going to find that out the hard way.
I think that first meeting is worth bringing up. We were on Akron on that one at home. That one, Kent State was favored. Sideline said pick 'em. It said it was a coin toss game, so it said grab the plus odds on Akron, and that was a really great play. The other thing to point out about that game, just looking back at my numbers on it, is that was at a time when Kent State had really been slipping and was really underperforming as of late. Akron was playing really, really well. As of late, again, that's kind of leveled off a little bit. You're not quite catching Kent State at their down, and you're not quite catching Akron at their peak. Akron's kind of come back to earth a little bit. Kent State's kind of gone back up to that level they've got. Like you said, the game location change. A lot of reasons to like Kent State here. I think we're getting a little bit of value on Kent State because people are looking back at that first matchup. Just a lot of things were different on top of the location. And like you said, the pace of this game is going to make it tough for that to be repeated. Like I was talking about at the start of the show with, you never know exactly how any one game is going to play out. When you have one game, it's always just one from all the possible options. Akron played really well. Hats off. It was great for us. We had them, but that doesn't mean that they're really likely to perform that same feat again on the road now,
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be tough, especially with the way Kent State's playing right now. And last game of the season, senior night, a little extra motivation on their end. I don't know. I just don't see Akron pulling this one off. This one, I think it's going to be very tough.
Yep, I agree. 7 p.m. Eastern, sticking in the MAC, Toledo at Ball State. Going to go over a really large number here, 159, but the model says 163. Both of these teams have been going over their projections as of late. I really think this doesn't have a hard time getting into 160, maybe even the mid 160s or up towards 170. You've got a Toledo team that's just playing really well, 10th best offense in the country. You don't really have a lot of defense at all. Ball State at home, might be sucked into playing at Toledo's faster pace in front of the home crowd. It's a senior night, right? Everybody wants to score, right? That just leans into faster pace, more possessions. Ball State's got a pretty decent offense himself, and Toledo has a terrible defense. It's not quite as much the other way around. Massive mismatch when Toledo has the ball, but it's still a mismatch when Ball State has the ball. They still have an edge offensively here. It's two good offenses, two bad defenses. We should have a ton of points in this one, so I really like the over. With regards to the spread, model says Toledo by 3.4. The number I'm seeing right now is 3.5. Toledo has been playing really well, and the interesting thing, I think, Jake, you're going to talk more about this here, how it doesn't mean a lot to Ball State. So I don't love laying the hook here, but if I was going to pick a side, I probably would be on the road team in Toledo here. I'd much prefer a 3 personally, but I still think that there's a decent chance with how well Toledo's played as of late that they can go on the road and get them a nice, easy win here. But I just expect a lot of points. I don't know if Toledo can get to 100, but I feel like it wouldn't be the craziest thing if it happened. Like if they got to 100, I'd be like, yeah, okay. Like I'm not projecting that, but it's like the fact that that's even on the table, I think says that over a number, especially south of 160, is a great value. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, like you said, I agree with everything you're saying. Toledo has this just amazing offense that plays at an incredible pace. They shoot the lights out. They're very good. And their defense is just missing because I don't think they care that much. From what I can see, their strategy is a great offense is the best defense because they put so much pressure on teams to score because they're going to because there's not many defenses that are going to slow them down, and you have to keep up with their pace because the ball's going in the bucket almost every time they have it. And Ball State's kind of locked into this 4th spot. They can't go up, they can't go down. They're going to play in the tournament to play the fifth seed, and they could be playing Toledo again as the 1 seed, or maybe even Kent State. So I don't know. It's hard to projecting motivation is a terrible way to go because you don't know what it means to these kids. You never know because does senior night outweigh the motivation of the tournament stuff? Does the coach want to just keep cheered it like a practice, or does he want to go vanilla? You don't know, but so it's kind of tough there.
Yeah, because we've seen sometimes coaches use this as a we're going to show them we can beat them so that they don't have a swagger that they're scared of us coming the next thing. So you've seen that sort of stuff. Like you said, unless you're in the locker room, you don't really know what in the coaches meetings, right? You don't really know how that's going to play out.
Yeah, so that's tough. So the spread makes me really worried because I can see that going either way. But we were kind of talking about it pre-show, and I think you're right. I think they're going to go out there. They're going to have a little more fun, be a little more loose. So I think we're going to get more offense because defense isn't quite as fun, and so we're going to get a lot more points. There's going to be, I think, this one will be real close to 170.
Yeah,
by the time it's over.
Yeah, it should be a lot of points in this one. Moving on here, also at 7 p.m. Eastern, Dayton at St. Louis going to lay the -120 with Dayton. Basically a pick 'em here. Model says that Dayton wins by an average of 2.5. Gives them the victory 57% of the time. So says this should be -134. Anything at -110 or better would be an A grade. So this is a B grade pick, but I think a pretty solid one here. As long as you're not paying too much juice, I think -120, pretty good price for Dayton. They are the much better team, in my opinion. Sideline has them at 42nd, but St. Louis at 108th. So obviously they're going on the road. But the fact that they are that much better, I think they can pull out the win. I don't want to pay a steep price at -120 isn't steep. Model's been pretty spot on with their projections as of late, but actually overvaluing St. Louis. So if that holds true again, that means St. Louis is going to have even a harder time than the model is projecting to win this. I don't see why this is close to a pick 'em other than the fact that this is about where the Ken Palm number is. I disagree with Ken Palm in this case. I think that Dayton is good enough to win this one relatively handily, even though they are on the road. Total in this game is 137. Model says 139. So the model would lean over. St. Louis has actually been going a little bit over as of late. Part of that is their pace. Dayton's actually been going a little bit under. Part of that, of course, their pace as well. You will have a massive contrast in styles here. I've got Dayton as the 346th fastest team, which is also the 20th or 18th or whatever slowest team. St. Louis, I've got the top 100 in pace. So you have a contrast in styles. You have kind of a little bit of conflicting thoughts here in that when we talk about who controls that, we kind of generally give the lean to the faster team with regards to pace. So that would kind of tell you to lean over. St. Louis being the home team, that would tell you to lean on over. But we also talk about that the better team has a better chance of controlling the pace. That would be Dayton and lean under. So a little bit of conflicting information everywhere. I think that kind of leans over. That's kind of what the model says, but it's not the strongest play in that when you have these two conflicting paces, you could really make good cases for either side. So the model would look towards the over, but it's not really pushing you very hard because there's just a lot of variance in a game like this with such contrasting styles. Focus here. Dayton -120 is a great price. What do you got?
Yeah, look, the price is great on Dayton. I'm not sure why it's so low. I don't understand what people are looking at because St. Louis is not playing great. Last time these two played, Dayton handled the game. I mean, it was a 14-point win, but they absolutely drilled them. The game might have just a bit faster pace than last time, but I mean, last time their total was like 126 or something like that. It didn't quite make it to 130.
More conflicting information on the total.
Yeah. So, like, it could be a little bit faster because it's at St. Louis and all that, but I don't see St. Louis making up 14 points by coming home. It's Dayton is a much, much better team in conference. Their offense has gotten extremely efficient. They don't turn the ball over. They're the best shooting team, except for the free throw line. They're the best shooting team in that conference. Their defense is outrageous, especially compared to the conference. They lead the league in opponents' 3-point percentage, 2-point percentage, and opponent effective field goal percentage. I don't see St. Louis being able to win this game, no matter what the total is.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for them to pull this one out. So Dayton minus 120, a pretty strong investment. 8 p.m. Eastern, SFA at Utah Valley. Okay, Utah Valley is a big favorite here. They should be a big favorite here. The model knows a lot, but doesn't know everything. I have it coded in, and maybe I will one day when I have more time try to look at these. It doesn't happen a lot, so we just kind of use our eyes to look at these. This is a terrible spot for SFA. So the model doesn't know that it's a terrible spot for SFA. Both these teams did play on Wednesday night. Now they're playing on Friday. So it is a quick turnaround for both teams. Utah Valley was at home. SFA wasn't. The model knows they played 2 days ago, but doesn't know the location, the distance between them, that sort of stuff. Doesn't factor in the OT part of this. Again, terrible spot for SFA, playing a rival, going to overtime, traveling a third of the way across the country at its peak, whatever. It's a long distance, to Utah Valley. I don't even know where Utah Valley is. I guess if it's in a valley, maybe there's not altitude.
George.
Does that have altitude? I don't know. If there's either altitude because it's Utah or it's not because it's a valley, I don't know. Someone maybe knows this and I don't. But it's a tough travel spot for SFA as opposed to Utah Valley, who did play 2 days ago, but also they were at home. So this is really about the spot that I think it's going to be really difficult for SFA to win this one. You can lay the points with Utah Valley. The model says it should be Utah Valley at minus 6.4. It's actually 7. If you wanted to lay 7, we always talk about that's kind of the highest you would go. I don't know. Maybe, Jake, you could talk more about what number you would lay. I'm sticking to the money line here. Model says it should be 264. So this is a bit of a stretch with regards to what the model says. But again, when we look at these, sometimes we use the model as a tool. We don't use it as an end-all, be-all. As a tool, it's saying 264. But again, we can kind of also tack on these other factors. It's going to be really difficult for SFA to win this one. So we don't want to lay too big of a price here. This is about as high as I want to go. I really was hoping for 300 or better. Low 300s, I guess it's fine. It's just, I think there's just still some value here in Utah Valley because of the fact that this is going to be really a difficult spot for SFA. It should be a good contest, though, with regards to the WAC, and you've got two of the top, teams in the WAC here. Total 142.5, model says 144. Model would indicate going over a little bit. SFA's been going over as of late. Utah Valley hasn't. I'm not sure I would trust anything with the total in this one because of the travel spot for SFA. Legs tired. That might be more missed shots. Even though the model leans over, I'm not looking at that whatsoever just because of the leg situation here for SFA. Jake, what do you have for us here?
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, this is terrible scheduling, terrible luck for SFA. You've got an overtime game against the rival on the road. You're following that up with that who's the number 2 seed right now if the conference ended today, and you're following that up by going to the 1 seed right after that on short rest. It's just not a great spot. You add in the fact Utah Valley is one of the best defenses that SFA would have seen all year and is more comfortable at the pace that SFA wants to play than they are. Like, it's nothing here adds up to being anywhere near a good spot for SFA. I don't think, even if under the best circumstances, I don't think they win this game on the road. I think Utah Valley is a very good team. I'm going to lay the 7, but I'm not putting like my full wager behind it. Like, I just want it because I want a piece of it because I think it's a good number, or a good, like, I think Utah Valley's going to do it. But I want that number to get much closer to. I want that 6 or maybe even 6.5. I don't want to trust free throws and weird stuff at the end from a spread perspective, and not touching the total because, I mean, even though these teams don't really shoot a lot of threes, neither one of them, you don't know how much legs SFA has that they could go all out the first half, have a great first half, and just completely die in the second half, or vice versa, or something like that. Don't want the total.
Save it in the tank early on, and then have some left.
Yeah, and then like Utah Valley should be motivated for this game. A win locks up the 1 seed for them. I'm not sure about tiebreaker situation if they don't pull it off. So they know win, and you get, I'm assuming, at least a bye, maybe a double bye. I'm not sure how this tournament works. Get that extra day off would be big for them. The Utah Valley's the right play.
Yeah, both these teams play pretty fast here. Both are in the top 100 in pace. That should, again, play more to Utah Valley's, advantage, given the SFA should have tired legs after all this. The best unit by far on the court is going to be Utah Valley's defense. I've got them as the 40th best defense in the country. That does not bode well. The Utah Valley's in Orem, Utah, which is elevation around 5,000. I guess it's Utah Valley because the average elevation of Utah is a little over 6,000. So I guess 5,000 is lower than the average. Part of that average is inflated by mountains where like people don't live up there at the top of the mountains. There are not very many people. So it seems like it's about pretty close to the average. Valley, maybe a little bit misleading, but yeah, you're at 5,000 feet. That's going to make things even worse for SFA. So, I mean, it's just a bad, just everything combination for them in this one. Again, going up with all the tired legs, too, going up against a really good defense and a team that wants to play fast. I mean, it's almost like if you had a checklist of like things that are going to go against you that you are annoyed with and that don't favor you. SFA's hitting almost every box. I mean, overtime, quick turnaround, traveling, altitude, good defense, fast team. I mean, Utah Valley could play faster, I guess, but they still play pretty fast already. So it's just not a great setup for them.
No, it's terrible, actually.
Yeah. To the late spot here, 11 p.m. Eastern, New Mexico at Colorado State. Got 2 picks on this. I mean, really going away from this. I like to focus on one pick. I like to have my rooting interest just kind of based on one thing. I'm picking out the one I think is the better of the 2 picks. I absolutely love both of these picks. So busting out the double pick for this one, I'm going to take New Mexico minus 115 and over 153.5. Sideline says that New Mexico wins this by an average of 3 points. So anything at minus 1.5 or better is an A grade. They're minus 1 right now. So if you just laid the 1, that would be an A grade. Also, though, of course, moneyline minus 115, mostly equivalent in A grade. Says that anything minus 123 or better on the money line is an A grade. Says this price should be minus 151. As the model says, New Mexico wins this 60% of the time. I think they're the much better team, even though they have not been quite as good as they were early in the season. I think we have to remember, even though early in the season they were winning, a lot of our models were still saying they weren't that good of a team, right? It was a little bit misleading, their record. They never really, they broke the top 25 in the rankings, but they never broke anybody's model top 25. So I've got them right now at the 59th best team. That is a little bit down from where they were earlier. I think they got up towards about 40, but they're still just a much better team. I've got Colorado State at 140. So good enough to win on the road here. The best unit on this court will be New Mexico's offense. And while they're the second best unit will be Colorado State's offense, New Mexico's defense is okay at 102nd in the country. Colorado State's 263. It's very, very bad. So, I mean, the best unit on the court being New Mexico's offense and the worst unit being Colorado State's defense. That does not bode very well for them. And again, I love the over as well. I think New Mexico scores at will. Sideline projects 157.5. Colorado State, even though they go slow, they do have a good offense. They have no defense. They've been going over as of late. New Mexico's really been going over. I mean, there's just a lot of reasons that this game gets much closer to the 160s and the low 150s. So loving New Mexico, loving the over here. 2 great picks for you. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, look, just to drive home your points, Colorado State defense, terrible. They've given up 10 times this year, and half of those have been in conference. That's not going to be good. Last time these 2 guys played, New Mexico State put up 88.
New Mexico.
That New Mexico State team doesn't exist anymore, apparently. But, last time 88 points, don't see that getting much difference. I mean, they're like Colorado State is 13 and 18 for a reason, right? They're just really, really bad. The injuries New Mexico has not really going to affect them. Nobody that key is out. The fast pace, tons of points, no defense on hardly either end, really. I mean, especially if you consider the way New Mexico's defense is playing. Fresno State just put up 80. It's not – I mean, they're not an offensive team by any stretch and got to 80. I don't see anybody stopping anybody here. This game might be 105 into 100 for all I know. I just think it's going to be a ton of points.
Yeah, absolutely. Colorado State, I don't know how, but beat St. Mary's. I feel like that's one of the more confusing results on the season. There's obviously been a few, but that's definitely at St. Mary's. They win the game at St. Mary's. I'm like, I don't even know how that even makes sense. That just doesn't seem possible to me.
The defensive powerhouse of that St. Mary's is somehow Colorado State scored enough points. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, I guess that's always the downside we talk about. For if you're a better team, you want more possession. St. Mary's play slow, Colorado State play slow. When you have slower games, you have more variance, more weird things will happen, right? And that's why we was talking about if you're a good team, you want to play a little bit faster, you want more possessions, and that's what New Mexico is going to do in this game here. They're going to get more possessions and really show that they are the better team. Should give us more points and a better likelihood that they win. Minus 115 is a really low price, and again, the total is really low here. The model projects New Mexico to get to 80, but I'm like you, like. That 88 they did last time, I'm like, that seems about right. I mean, they should be able to score at will, getting into the upper 80s. There should be a lot of points in this one. So, again, two great angles there. Which takes us to overtime. Again, a lot of conference tournament games. We're going to hit up a daytime one for you here. Noon Eastern, Charleston Southern at UNC Asheville. Jake, you went with us, got us a spread winner here earlier in the week in this segment, laying a big number. Going to lay even a little smaller one here, UNC Asheville against Charleston Southern. That says at. I'm going to correct that is not at. It's a neutral site game. The model does know that for a conference tournament game here. But model says they win this by an average of 8.2, says that minus 8 gets it a C grade pick. So the model doesn't like it as much, but the other thing to consider is that UNC Asheville's been outperforming the model by about 6 points per game over the last month, whereas Charleston Southern's been underperforming by about 4 points. In other words, UNC Asheville's decent, Charleston Southern is terrible. So laying 8, the smart play here. Jake, tell us more.
Yeah, look, UNC Asheville, great team relative to their conference. They are just a very, very good offensive team with a better defense, which is kind of surprising based on how they played last year. They're the most efficient defense in their conference. They do a great job of making every shot tough because they're not forcing a ton of turnovers, but they just are making every shot a painful shot and far from the bucket. They love forcing threes. They're holding their opponents to below 30% from the three while they're shooting almost 41%. They're just going to double you up every time around. They're very aggressive offense, get to the free throw line a ton and convert a great chunk of them. They're just a very, very good team. They're the 1 seed in this conference for a reason. They went 16-2. Both losses were on the road, but they were relatively close. Charleston Southern, not very good team. They played last night, played a tough game with a 2-point victory. I think their legs will be a little weaker. Play this fast-paced team of UNC Asheville. I just don't see them really hanging in the game at all.
And if it matters at all, this tournament game, the Big South tournament here is being played in Charlotte. It's about a 2-hour drive from Asheville to Charlotte, so it's a little bit easier of a travel spot, more likely to have more fans there, especially if the number 1 seed. I can't imagine Charleston Southern having, really any fans there. As a fan, you don't want to take a trip like that that's further away when, you're pulling for the 10 seed or whatever they are, the 9 seed. It's not quite as exciting as Asheville being the 1 seed, probably have get a closer drive, so should have more fans there, easier travel spot. So that's not even baked into the model. But if you add that in, really, it probably should be more like 8.5, 9, maybe even closer to 10. And then if you're adding in what these teams have played as of late, the fact that Charleston has got a little bit tired legs, there's a lot of reasons to like Asheville here. I think kind of laying single digits, I think is probably kind of our threshold here, right? I don't think we'd lay 10, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to lay 10, especially with the way this round of this conference tournament went last year. I think we had 3 overtime games, and one of them was a double overtime for this round because it was just incredible because they were all afternoon games. It was just the best part of the week by far.
I do remember that because I'm in Boston now. Here I'm here at the Sloan Sports Analytics Conference. If anyone's here, come drop me a line, say hi. But yeah, I remember that I was here last year, and we had these. It was like overtime, the double overtime, and then we get to the last one. It was like, can we get another overtime game? I don't think we did that last one.
No,
I do remember it was a crazy day. So yeah, I don't want to lay too big of a number here, but 8 probably pretty reasonable as long as it stays in single digits. They are, of all the games in this tournament, a lot of these teams are pretty close to each other. You should have a lot of tight contests. This is the one that's most likely to be a runaway game and a blowout. The other ones are the ones that are more likely to be tight overtime contests. This is the one that's more likely to be a double-digit win here. So lay 8, the smart choice. That's all we got for you then, Jake. Any parting words for the year?
Nah, this is where we go. We're starting to get afternoon conference tournament basketball these little ones are the more fun to watch because there's more on the line for them. Most of those guys in the big conferences, they know if they're in or out. It doesn't matter if they win the tournament. Yeah. These ones are playing for their life, and it's so much fun.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, thanks for tuning into this episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can enjoy all the sports betting content we provide on this channel, dropped right into your feed. Be back again tomorrow with more sports betting tips. Going to have our last loaded Saturday here for tomorrow. So a lot of great games to cover for that show. But until then, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.